Lawyers, what's a law that isn't real, that normal people insist exists? It's a law that exists, but widely misunderstood, is the concept of entrapment. If the police put a bait vehicle in a high crime area, that is not entrapment. If the police are watching a bar known to overserve to see if there are impaired drivers at the end of the night, that is not entrapment. Entrapment only occurs when a gov agent suggests committing a crime that you were not otherwise going to commit. This actually happened to an old high school teacher of mine. He thought he was going on a date with a lady he met online. When they met up for the date, who happened to be an undercover officer, she was like, "I'm not really interested in a date, but $4 I'll do," to which he obliged. He was charged with soliciting a prostitute, but the charges were dropped since he was only actually interested in the date and had no desire to solicit anything until the officer brought it up. That is exactly the classic scenario that the law is written to prevent. The case that really set the court precedent for this was wild. FBI agents were badgering this farmer to buy porn for months, and finally he was like, "Sure, whatever." Wham! Jail time. I believe it was cleared, but damn, was that dirty. Edit. So here, link, is the Wikipedia article on it. So the US Postal Service began a sting operation to catch people for trying to buy child pornography in 1985. I thought it was just normal porn, and when all porn was illegal, I was mistaken. They set the sting on him 3 times, and only in the 3rd time did he actually try to buy a magazine of porn of 11 to 14-year-olds. It was determined that this constituted entrapment and was something of a landmark case because they ruled in his favor. Don't forget where the undercover befriended a mentally handicapped kid and eventually forced him to buy weed for her, then arrested him. An arrest isn't magically invalidated if the police don't read you your rights on the spot. There could be a whole thread of just misconceptions people have from watching cop TV. Miranda rights protect you from self-incrimination when being questioned by the police for a crime. It doesn't mean they have to Miranda you the second you get arrested. If you aren't questioned, then it doesn't apply. People also think it's illegal not to let them make a phone call after being arrested. Came here to mention the one phone call misconception. They don't have to let you call anyone as long as they give you reasonable access to a lawyer. That's why I love in The Dark Knight when the Joker says, "I want my phone call," and the cop ignores him, because that's exactly what they would do. My father, who is a lawyer. Policemen cannot lie to you. This is false. They can and they do. Edit. There's so many replies that I cannot even find some of the ones I'd like to respond to, so I want to leave a general note for those who have asked for a reference. Frazier vs. Cupp is the Supreme Court ruling that affirmed the legality of deceptive interrogation tactics in 1969. The ruling is still active. I heard you were smuggling animals. What are you, a cop? In California, it's not illegal to discuss your wages with your coworkers, despite what your boss might say. Edit. I'm a lawyer in California. I assume it's the same in the other 49 states, but don't want to speculate. It's actually not illegal anywhere in the United States to discuss wages or form/join a union, contrary to what many employers may claim. I also strongly recommend you do both to protect yourself and your colleagues from being taken advantage of. Edit. As many commenters have noted, it's not only completely legal to unionize and or discuss wages, but it's actually illegal for a company to attempt to prohibit either, and being fired for unionizing or for discussing wages is grounds for a wrongful termination lawsuit. Know your rights, don't get screwed over. And I'm not sure if this is state by state or countrywide, but in some or all of the US it's actually illegal for employers to try to prohibit it. It's actually illegal nationally for a company to retaliate for discussing wages. They typically just make up some other bullshit reason to fire you instead. Make up some other bullshit reason. Or fire you for no reason at all, as California is an at-will employment state. People that think it's illegal to be videotaped in a public space. I saw someone on Nextdoor complaining about my reasonable right to privacy in a public place when someone was shaming 20 people standing together waiting for takeout. Sorry, that's the opposite of how it works. If big time celebrities can't stop paparazzi from following them and their family 24/7, I have no clue why ordinary people believe that they have the right not to be caught on camera in public. No laws against driving barefoot. Mandatory edition. In the US. In Germany, while appropriate footwear is not directly required, you can be found at fault if your choice of footwear or lack thereof leads to your inability to avert an accident. I believe it's the same in Australia. If you have an accident whilst wearing flip-flops, you might struggle with insurance to prove that wearing them didn't cause or add to the causing of the accident. In the UK, that it is illegal to drink under the age of 18. You can buy alcohol with a meal at 16, beer, wine, cider, and you are not breaking any laws if you give your child some alcohol in the privacy of your own home and they are over the age of 5. Edit. At 16 you have to be accompanied by an adult and it is paid for by the adult. Thanks you /Kellisk. You can buy alcohol with a meal, but do restaurants have a final say as to whether or not they'll serve it? Yes. The restaurant chain I used to work at wouldn't sell alcohol to anyone under 18, even if it was just one beer, to have with a meal. Will. Fancy a cider and a coffee. In the UK, it's not illegal to park on someone else's driveway. It's classified as trespassing, a civil offense, not criminal, which means the police can't do anything. This particularly surprises people as many think that they have exclusive rights to the parking outside their house as well. What recourse do you have? In my old London borough, you phone the council and they guaranteed to turn up in an hour and tow it away, no questions asked. So long as you can prove you live there, that it's a cross/in your property, and you don't want it there, they tow it and charge the owner for recovery. It's not the same everywhere, but because it's only a civil matter, you can just have it towed away yourself and charge the owner for recovery and storage. If nothing else, it's fly tipping. If you're asking about someone parking on the driveway, then you can remove, or have removed, that vehicle to a legal parking area. But, to ensure no damage is caused to that vehicle whilst moving it. If you're asking about blocking someone's drive so they can't get onto the road, only works that way, doesn't matter if you can't get on your drive, then the police can remove it. But it will not be a priority for them, and it will no doubt take some time before this is actioned. The local council parking enforcement may also assist. Probate attorney here. I've heard many people ask me when the reading of the will is going to take place. I explain to them that only happens in movies. But one of these days I'm going to have one and hire a mysterious blonde wearing a veil to sit in the corner quietly. Then I'll tell everyone that she inherits everything. Provided, of course, that she must adopt the decadent's cute but troublemaking 6-year-old child no one knew about. Or she can spend the night in a haunted house. Her choice. My dad spent his whole career doing probate and can't count how many people have inquired about the reading of the will. I believe on a couple of occasions he's actually staged them because it was the only way to get the whole family to come sit down in a room and actually listen to what the fucking will says. And why not do it if he can bill the estate for the hours it takes him to clean up the conference room and then read a piece of paper at a bunch of morons. LMAO. 10/10ths move. There will now be a requirement for such a mysterious lady's presence at the reading of my will, written into my will. Along with a handful of burly yet solemn fellows, dressed in stereotypical German attire, complete with sunglasses and earpieces. One will be Russian, or at least able to fake the accent consistently, and should only be curtly acknowledged by the others. Every one of them should be entirely vague about how they knew me except from business, and the men should all refuse to acknowledge the presence of the veiled woman, and feign terror if compelled to look at her. My friends and I have an agreement that, if one of us dies, the others hire a good-looking woman in a long black coat and large sunglasses to stand slightly away from everyone at the funeral crying underneath an umbrella, or parasol if it's not raining. As a former lawyer, UK, I lost count of the amount of people that thought jaywalking was a crime. Unless it's a road that specifically states no pedestrians or a motorway, no such offense exists here. Edit. To clarify, I'm talking about it not being a crime in the UK. It may well be elsewhere, Australia, USA, Germany and others. Too much American media. It technically is a crime in America, so people think it applies in other places. Even in America, that is on a state level. In some states, it is just on a city level. The one that is the most frustrating to me, even though it's not really a specific claim that a particular law exists, more a rule of evidence, is that's just hearsay. You have no evidence. Comes up all the time, in all kinds of contexts. Even lawyers love using it when it suits them. Nothing but hearsay and speculation. Usually, what people mean when they say that is don't believe them. They're lying. Which, fair enough, but that's not what hearsay means. Lots of evidence is just a person talking. That's what a witness is. It's why testimony exists. It's not evidence, just because it's a person talking. Hearsay just means that in most cases, you can't have person A say that person B said this in order to prove that this actually is true. Hearsay, get it? I heard B say it. It just means your witness can only talk about things they actually know about. And, extremely importantly, it also doesn't count as hearsay when person B is actually the person on the other side of the case. Person A is totally allowed to say person B told me yes, I will commit the crime on Tuesday, if person B is the defendant, who has been accused of committing the crime on Tuesday. You don't get to complain it's hearsay, if you're the one who supposedly said the thing they heard. U.S. Ex-lawyer here. There is no law that requires the police to provide you with their name and badge number when asked. There may be internal policies, but it's not the law. There is also no law that requires the police to get a supervisor if demanded. Again, policy vs law. There is no law that allows you to question whether an order given by the police is lawful or not. A court has to decide if the order was lawful after the fact, but there are laws to punish you if you do not comply. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for the good conversation and gold, truly honored. Quick updates. Someone pointed out that in New York there is a law that requires cops to ID themselves and have a card, which is fantastic. Thank you for correcting the statement. A lot of folks seem to be concerned that no law meant no rules, so to clarify, a lot of things are actually managed via internal policies. Those policies usually have teeth, so no, the police are not interested in just violating them and losing their jobs etc. Last note. Thanks for the civil discourse. A lot of these threads get reduced to flames quickly, and by far the comments have been productive and thought-provoking. You guys really are awesome. I've tried to respond to questions, and will continue to, as long as you think it's useful. Second edit. Since this has come up a lot, I identify as an ex-lawyer, because I do not practice law anymore. Attorneys are admitted to practice law under the rules of the bar in their state bar. I left the state that I was admitted to when I changed careers, and did not maintain the continuing legal education requirements to maintain my standing with the bar in the state that I left, nor did I seek admission to the bar in my new state. I'm technically ineligible to practice until I complete clerics and recertify with the bar of my old state, but I have no intention of doing that. So, in short, ex-lawyer. Thanks again. So what method is there, if any, to confirm an officer's identity? Asking because I live in a high trafficking area that has had multiple instances of people being abducted by fake cops in unmarked vehicles, and the common advice around here is to ask for their badge number before even rolling down your window fully. Now that I think of it, anyone with half a brain could figure out how to make up an accurate sounding badge number though. Edit. This comment now has twice as many likes as my top actual post. Always knew that I would beat the old record, but definitely not talking about something this dark lol.